So I'd like to talk to you about an experience that I had with Prana Govinda Ji, who I consider to be a great friend, a teacher of mine, and just an all-around great soul. So this experience with Prana Ji, my very good friend, who is a monk, as I would say, as a Westerner would say, but he would call himself a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, and he's always evolving, but he is a monk, okay? So we'll start there. Now, Prana has found an extreme passion in photography, and not just in the passion of photography just for the sake of photography, of just photographing. He wants to bring the mood of Braj, the Braj Mandal. So this passion of his in photography has become his form of preaching and bringing in interest to Braj culture into this area called the Braj Mandal. Now, I translate this personally as the area where many of Krishna and Radha's pastimes were performed. Now, mandal in Sanskrit is translated, it actually refers to a geometric pattern from the outer core and into the inner, usually representing a spiritual journey. So mandal, Braj Mandal. So it encompasses an area of land. And this is where many of Radha and Krishna's pastimes were performed, and where our story begins. He invited me along on a journey to Barsana, the village where Radha, Krishna's lover, was born. He had been invited to a school for young girls to take school photos and also family portraits in this small, peaceful village. Now, we started this bike ride around 6:30 in the morning. It was a bitter and cold December day. Prana's passion for photography was immediately evident as we stopped along the small rural roads, which in his mind captured so much of the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, this rural area, this spiritual, like I've said before, that the material and spiritual are intertwined in their ideas. So I got to learn a lot along the way while we were riding through these rural roads. The sun was beautifully coming up, and we were stopping and taking photos. But man, I was cold. At one point along the drive, as the gusts of freezing wind blew through my ears, he proclaimed, "Look at these trees bowing down to God, Krishna." The symbolism was fascinating and it deeply interested me. I was amazed by the symbolism, the meaning of that. That's deep. That is very deep. So he continued, these trees could be considered sadhus, holy men, who have been lucky enough to take another birth in this extremely sacred area, the Braj Mandal. I was cold and mentally drained from a lack of sleep, but the idea really provoked a sense of wonder in myself. Prana did speak more than I did on the journey, as I was more interested in his ideas than mine at the time. I was wanting to take in what he was taking in himself. We arrived at Barsana, and a great relief came over to me to finally become free from the motorcycle seat. We entered the school, which we could already begin to hear reciting passages from the Bhagavad Gita before classes had begun. Prana and I were both adorned with flowers blessed by the deities. Now, these girls come from extreme backgrounds. Some picked up off the streets from begging. Some of the parents are extremely apprehensive about sending these girls to school even. Education at the lower level of Indian society is an extremely controversial subject. They question what exactly the purpose is for their education. What type of education are they receiving? And does it interfere with their own ideas of what education even means? We're having this kind of discussion in America right now too. I mean, what do we want our education system to be like? What do we want to pass on? Do we want to pass on tradition and the groundings of our culture, or do we want to erase that, and do we want to just progress? And don't want to get into it right now. Some of these girls have been abused in all respects. All respects. I won't go into the details. Some of their fathers left. Women typically in Indian society, this lifestyle, marry very young, relatively young, and immediately begin reproducing due to the 4 stages of Hindu life that one is supposed to go through. So, like I said, their fathers might, some of these girls' fathers might be involved in an addiction of some sort, which usually in these rural areas involves alcohol. There's other substances too, but alcohol is the main problem you will see out here as far as addiction is concerned. Prana began snapping pictures immediately, the different classes of girls, and as we began snapping photos, or as Prana began snapping these photos, the true inner beauty of these girls began to come out, regardless of their living standards or family dynamics. Some proudly held the Bhagavad Gita in their hands. Please take notice of this important text. After we finished taking class photos, we began to embark further into the small communities that make up this peaceful village of Barsana. The teachers and even ourselves wanted to see the living conditions of these girls, and the girls were excited to bring us along into their world. Some more apprehensive than others, yet there was a satisfaction that the family felt in being able to have a modern family portrait taken that they wouldn't have this opportunity otherwise unless we had come.
Gauri.
Hello, Gauri. Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna. Sahab.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
I had my feet up.
You can take picture with Gauri.
Okay. You want to?
बैठ जाओ बैठ
Your
जाओ
mother?
उसके साथ।
Mother?
हाँ मदर
अच्छा।
बैठो उसके साथ
Gauri?
बैठो।
No, with mother.
बैठ जाओ
The baby?
आ जा
Family picture.
राधे राधे करते लाला
We traveled through small gullies on foot, traveling from home to home. Most of those unaware of our intentions were shocked to see 2 Westerners wandering through their tightly knit communities. The men appeared particularly curious, and when they finally realized what our intentions were, they were happy to have us and brought us in and accepted us. Pranaji was doing great service, Seva, as you would say in Sanskrit, to these locals, while at the same time trying to capture the moods of this simple lifestyle, which in all of its simplicity provides the very basis of Eastern philosophy and Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy: simple living, high thinking. I could see his passion. I felt it. I could see the beauty and the simplicity. At the same time, I could feel my heart break for some of these young girls, due to knowing that the outward appearances in India are extremely important. And, sometimes not everything you see on the outside is what is really going on. in the internal family dynamic environment. To sum that up, outward appearances in India are extremely important. But I believe, this is what I believe, if you are able to develop trust, communication, and acceptance, and also relay your own struggles to them, and accept them for who they are, and allow them to accept you with no conditions involved in that, they will unearth the skeletons that are buried deep within. That's what I believe happens. The more grit of Indian society, especially in these small rural communities.
But I'm only interested in photography. Bridgebasis, Vrindavan, devotees. I don't care going to England and taking pictures. I only want to take pictures in Vrindavan. And I put them on Facebook, and people are writing to me who never come to Vrindavan. I want to come to this place that you're taking pictures of. So for me, this is service, it's preaching. It's helping others get traction for Vrindavan.
We rode back home as I contemplated on the experience. This monk, whom I would call a great friend and teacher, he's taught me so much in the many short experiences I've been able to share with him. He's provided me with such amazing insights into the ideas surrounding Bhakti Yoga, unity with the divine through devotional service. And through this service he was doing, that encapsulated Bhakti Yoga for me. And our stopping and taking pictures that he was so passionate about, that really to him showed the mood of Braj, the Braj Mandal, the area in which Krishna and Radha played in their pastimes, and all these different stories were occurring. Really, I could feel it. I could feel the passion and the unity, the ability to create extremely abstract thoughts and symbols and apply them into a practice that creates passion in its own right. We all practice devotion in some way. It is a necessity in order to live a life with any sort of substance. And with that, I will leave you with a great quote from Friedrich Nietzsche, someone I wouldn't say admire, he was a bit nihilistic, but this quote strikes me all the time. He who has a why can bear almost any how. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Follow my link to my email list, where I talk about my own struggles from darkness. We've just started getting into the dark aspects of it, so you're going to be getting quite a bit of dark stuff at first, but then I'm going to start relating it to Western psychology, Eastern psychology, which has been my driving, my passion, my driver during this time. So check out my other videos in my playlist. Check out our other videos we have on our channel in general. I appreciate you all, and I really hope that you're able to find some kind of lesson in my cluttered mind, my ramblings, as I like to call them. So, thank you. Thank you so much.